Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. What's going on, guys? Good evening, Tuscaloosa. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. We're hanging out on a Friday. We missed you guys yesterday. I'm sorry for having a little day off. Not much going on yesterday, so we ended up taking yesterday off. But we're back on a Friday, hoping all you guys are doing well. You can always find the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral on all your social media platforms at Joe Gaither 6 on all your social media platforms. You can find us at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We appreciate everybody checking out the show. We're proud part of the BamaCentral Broadcasting Network, along with our friends Blue Collar Unplugged, Matthew Gibson, Blake Byler, and Jacob Pickle doing Blue Collar Unplugged. We're going to have a lot of fun, or hopefully going to have a good show on a Friday night. Of course, you can follow us at BamaCentral, at BamaCentral SI on Instagram, at Alabama Crimson Tide on Sports Illustrated on the Facebook machine. We are your Alabama Crimson Tide home, your Sports Illustrated home for your Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's start. Look, I've got a couple of recruiting notes. I've got a little bit of underrated. I want to talk about who's the most underrated player on this Alabama defense. You can chime in on the comment section and join me on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I want to talk about Alabama basketball. And it's just been terrible. It's just been awful, but we did spend some time with Coach Nate Oates in Coleman Coliseum media room earlier today. And I want to talk about Michigan, and I want to talk about what do you want for Christmas. So, again, you can chime in on the Facebook side of things, on any of the comment side, at Joe Gaither 6 on all of our social media machines. Let's start with some recruiting news because it is that recruiting season. Look, the early signing date has come and gone. We covered that pretty extensively at BamaCentral.com. You can keep up with the recruiting tracker. It's right there on the front page on the banner for you guys to keep up with all 23 signees, plus two guys, obviously Ryan Williams and Quentin Reese, who are going to sign in February, make up the number 2 recruiting class in the class of 2024. But we're moving into 2025. We'll start with the football recruit, and then we'll move into the basketball recruit, who is a 2024 recruit. Alabama got some good news on that train, but we always like to start with football because that's what carries the water here at BamaCentral.com. We'll start with Antonio Coleman, Saraland defensive lineman, is a class of 2025 defensive line prospect. He is 6'2", 285. He's rated a 4-star prospect. He's rated the number 8 defensive lineman in the class. According to 24/7 Sports, he's rated the number 9 overall player in the class, number 9 overall player in the state. Not in the class, but in the state. So he's a good little player. He's a good defensive lineman for the Saraland Spartans, the 6A runner-ups, getting beat by Clay Chalkville in a crazy game, a couple of weeks ago. But he was committed to Alabama. He committed to Alabama in August or so, and today has come out on social media and says he's flipping. He's flipping to the Auburn Tigers. He's joining the Hugh Freeze. It's a freeze warning. He's joining the Auburn Tigers. He's going to say War Eagle, and he's flipping to that team in West Georgia. And, look, this is not a time to freak out about any child's decision. And with all due respect to you, Antonio Coleman, this is not our time to – you are 16, 17 years old. I was a child at 16, 17 years old. Anybody who's listening at that age range, I do think that you are on the path to adulthood, but you're still a young kid. You've got another 12 months, Antonio Coleman, to decide if you want to stay with the Auburn Tigers, if you're going to flip back to Alabama. It's no time for anybody to freak out about Antonio Coleman losing him to the Tigers. Now, he's a good player. If he sticks with Auburn, you say that stinks, and, Hugh Freeze is going to get his prospects. He's going to get his players. He is a pretty dang good recruiter, and when you use that Yellowwood money, you've got a nice little incentive nest egg to use to your advantage. I'm sure that's involved here with Antonio Coleman. But look, so Alabama goes from 8 to 7 recruits in the class of 2025, and they are currently sitting at number 2 overall in the class of 2025. They got Mason Short. They've still got Turbo Rogers, Anthony Turbo Rogers. They've still got Jamie French. So they've still got a lot of good players in the class of 2025. But they lose Antonio Coleman. Hey, pup, you're gonna have to get down. They lose Antonio Coleman today, right now, to Auburn, and that's unfortunate. You can read about that at BamaCentral.com. That's unfortunate. Now, what else you can read about, and the good news for Alabama is Darian Reed. Oh, my gosh. Nate Oates. Look, we can be upset about the product on the floor, and I understand that. And part of that, I think, has to do with roster management. I think Coach Oates has done well with roster management. But first, before I get off on roster management, he brings in Darian Reed. Darian Reed, we've talked about him. We've teased about him for the last handful of weeks. What he was supposed to commit in November. I know I was out at a high school football game when he made the announcement he was not going to commit. What was that? Late November, mid-November? So Darian Reed is a 5-star player at a prolific prep in Napa, California. Yeah, you know that high school because that is the high school of Aiden Sherrill, the other prospect, the other commit in Alabama's 2024 class. So Darian Reed comes into the class. So Alabama now has two 5-star players with Aiden Sherrill and Darian Reed. Darian Reed is basically, 6'7", 180. He's ranked the number 1 player in the state of California, the number 3 overall power forward, and the number 14th overall player in the class. So he's going to fit Nate Oates' system very, very well. Long player, wing type player, good on offense and on defense, can score at all 3 levels. And he's going to be trying to look to be a one and done player along with his teammate at Prolific Prep, Aiden Sherrill. They're going to come to Alabama together. So that's good news. Alabama now with Aiden Sherrill, Darian Reed, and Nas Cunningham as well in the class. That ranks this number 7 overall in 24/7. So they're building. They probably are not. They might add one more. We'll see. Obviously, they missed out on a lot of big prospects like Billy Richmond and several others. Billy Richmond committing to Kentucky officially a day or two ago. We all kind of knew that was what was going to happen with him. So Alabama with 3 players in the class. Look, I think that this is a good thing for Coach Nate Oates. Last year's team, I think, was strong for a couple of factors. You had freshmen that came in together, they grew together, and you were kind of like building something. But when last year's team broke up, obviously Brandon Miller, you go to the draft, Noah Clowney, you go to the draft, that happens. And you encourage that from an Alabama standpoint. You encourage them to go to the draft and make a whole lot of money. But when they go to the draft, and you don't have those freshmen to come in, and you lose transfers. You lose Jaden Bradley in the transfer portal. You lose the kid that you lost the kid that the Texas Tech. Golly, what's his name? The Texas Tech kid from Chicago who went to Michigan. I'm seeing his face right now, but I cannot think of his name. So you lose guys in the transfer portal, and you lose guys obviously to graduation as well. You didn't have that extra come up. The only carryover from last year's team was Rylan Griffin, obviously Mark Sears, and Nick Pringle. 3 guys, good players, good leaders, but 3 guys who you need more. You brought in your freshman class was kind of, I don't want to say weak because Sam Walters has been a lot of fun, but really you filled a whole lot of those needs in the transfer portal. I really kind of. This team seems like they're together, but I just don't know if I don't know if you got that continuity year after year. It seems like there's a lot of learning going on with this Alabama basketball squad, and I think that's due to the fact that you have so many new faces in the program, namely in the assistant coaches and with the personnel. When you hit the transfer portal so hard, I'm encouraged with the 2024 class getting 3 guys into the class. You're probably going to see Sherrill for 2 years. You're probably going to see Darian Reed for just 1 year, and then you're probably going to see Nas Cunningham hopefully for 2 seasons. And Nate Oates is going to. I mean, he's doing a hell of a job recruiting. So he was in on a lot of top prospects, even though not all of them came to the University of Alabama. He's been in on a lot of top prospects, and to secure Darian Reed today, 5-star player out of Napa, California, number 1 player in the state of California, it's a huge deal for Alabama. Number 14th player in the class. I think it's going to be a big old deal for Alabama next year. Let's keep talking about Alabama basketball because we did spend some time in the Coleman Coliseum media room today with Nate Oates, and just a small personal complaint. It was supposed to be at 2:00. I get there at 1:35. John trying to be Johnny on the spot. Take my usual seat, set up my setup, and they say, "Oh, Joe, it's gonna be 2:30." Okay, no big deal. I can deal with people 30. Whatever. It ended up being 3 o'clock before head coach Nate Oates came into the media room. So a good bit late there. I wish coach, just my only request there, I don't mind. Take your time, do your thing, get the guys ready for what you need to get them ready for. But if you schedule a press conference and you're still practicing, my only request, and I say this as humbly as possible, is let us into the end of practice. Let us into the end of practice. We won't tweet anything. You can set the ground rules. You can set the rules and say no tweeting or no videos. You can just observe the end of practice. I would love that, Coach Nate Oates. And then you can be as late as you want to, and I would never complain again because I'd be getting to watch behind the scenes access. But anyways, Coach Nate Oates comes in at 3 o'clock today, and we spend his usual 10 minutes, and he was great with us as he always is. The big deal with this team is fouling too much. You have Muhammad Wagi fouling 9.7 fouls per 40 minutes. That's insanity. That's insane. He's basically fouling out twice if he played 2 games. That is pure insanity. You've got Sam Walters at 7.3. Coach revealed right around the 7s. I think it said 7.3, but he was in 7 point something. Nick Pringle is also really, really high. Obviously, they've all Wagi and Pringle have fouled out each of the last 3 games. And so the whole deal is, how do you protect these guys from getting into foul trouble? And you just don't. Well, you don't doing what you've been doing. You don't doing what you've been doing. Okay, what they did in this last game worked better, but it still resulted in Pringle and Wagi fouling out. Maybe you got to mix in this. You got to mix the defense up, I think. And maybe the Alabama team is not ready to be sophisticated and not ready to mix in defenses. Maybe they're not ready to handle mixing in a zone defense. But at some point, now Coach talked today, and I was very appreciative. He said, we are being more aggressive on screens so that guards can't come downhill on the bigs, because Pringle and Wagi aren't fouling on the bigs so much as they're fouling on the guards moving around in the paint, because our guards, Mark Sears and Aaron Estrada, aren't staying in front of their man, the ball handler, and or are getting picked off of the ball handler by a screening big man themselves. So to play the screens harder, it will help mitigate the opposing team going downhill on you. But I think you do have to mix in some zone defense, because you're not going to grow another body. You're not going to grow another body. You're not going to find another big who's going to be able to play. Maybe you got to get more out of Jaron Stevenson in the post. You got to get him to guard the post a little bit more. I know he's a young freshman. I know he's 17. He's only reclassified. But you got to, and he's 6'10". He's listed at 6'10", so he's probably 6'9". Long body. He looks just like Noah Clowney last year, but he's not really playing that much inside, in my opinion. You got to get more out of your frontline guys. You got to protect them a bit more in your coaching strategy. So tomorrow, the Tide's playing Eastern Kentucky. So let's get this out of the way right now. Let's get this bleep out of the way right now. I already know it's going to be less than like 5,000 people in the stadium, and that's going to annoy me. It's going to drive me nuts tomorrow. It's going to drive me nuts tomorrow that no one's going to show up. And I know it's 2 days before Christmas. It's the Christmas Eve. And people are probably shopping and this, that, and the other. But the team's results have not been good. But the team's been on a hard run. The team's had 3 hard weeks away from Coleman Coliseum, played their butts. You can't deny that they've been playing hard per se. Maybe they haven't been playing well, but they've been playing hard. They probably haven't been playing smart, but they've been playing hard. So, this is an opportunity to welcome them back, get a team, get some momentum. They're playing Eastern Kentucky. They're 257 in KenPom. They should wipe the floor with them. They'd probably break 100 points and get some feel good going before their game against Liberty in Birmingham in the CM Newton Classic. They're playing in Birmingham on the 31st, I believe, but just before. They're playing in Birmingham just before conference play gets started. So there's only 2 more games before conference play gets started. I don't have the schedule pulled up. I know that tomorrow is Eastern Kentucky at 3 p.m. in Coleman Coliseum. I know the tickets will be easy to come by. If you're in Tuscaloosa, you don't have anything to do. You're just sitting around the house watching Christmas movies. Look, I know the NFL is probably going to be on, and I haven't looked at the NFL slate. I know there's probably going to be some Alabama guys participating in NFL games, but you've got a team that really could use your support on a cheap ticket in the middle of the afternoon. So it's not like it's going to blow up your whole day. It's basketball, so it's not football. Like, you got parking right next to Coleman and the deck. It's going to be easy to get into. Oh, but you're going to have a very dismal crowd tomorrow, and Alabama should still wipe the floor with them, and we'll see if that gets the Tide back on track before Christmas break for them. All right, let's talk football. We talked about Darian Reed already. We talked about Antonio Coleman decommitting from Alabama and committing to Auburn. If you missed any of the portions of the program, if you're watching us live on any of our channels, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter at Joe Gaither 6, I appreciate you. But if you're watching us live and you want to catch the rest of the show, anything that you missed, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon. You can just subscribe, rate, and review the show right there, or you can watch it right there on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. Rewatch it right there as well. So I want to talk about some football topics. I want to talk about the most underrated player on the Alabama defense, and I want to talk about who is the most important player to stop on the Michigan offense, and then I want to talk about just a weird kind of throw out to you, what do you want for Christmas? So if you want to chime in on any of those topics, you can as well right there at Joe Gaither 6 if you're watching us live, or if you're watching us on replay, feel free to comment on replay as well at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook and on Twitter and YouTube. That's where we are live. So let's talk about defense first. For Alabama, most underrated player on defense. Look, everybody can talk about your stars this year. Your star, of course, Dallas Turner, your Kool-Aid McKinstry, Dallas Turner, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Kool-Aid McKinstry, many All-American teams. You can talk about Caleb Downs, freshman, all freshman, newcomer of the year. You can talk about Deontay Lawson, kind of giving you that alpha flavor a little bit, not the whole year, but a little bit out of the inside linebacker. You can talk about the big plays that Jihad Campbell made as well. Obviously, the scoop and score against Tennessee, but Jihad Campbell was all over the place. You can talk about Chris Braswell being the most probably underrated pass rusher due to his running mate Dallas Turner. But look, I'm going to nominate for my most underrated player on this Alabama defense, Justin Eboigbe. Let's see if I can pull up his stats as I just kind of talk about his run real quick. Justin Eboigbe, he's obviously a redshirt senior. He's playing on a medical year because last year he basically broke his neck. It wasn't really diagnosed as a broken neck, but he suffered a neck injury last year, 3-4 games into the season, and the Alabama defensive line was never the same. And what happened last season is they've kicked Will Anderson inside to play basically that defensive end role that would Justin Eboigbe vacated because they didn't really have. Jaheim Otis was basically locked into the nose position. Tim Smith was okay at one side, but not really enough. Byron Young was okay, but not really enough. So it took Will Anderson out of position, and it brought his numbers down. Obviously, Will Anderson was an absolute stud, but to get Justin Eboigbe back and to play all 13 games and really play like a madman in all 13 games. He was, I think he's the most underrated player on this defense because of his play recognition. I think he was very instrumental in getting guys lined up, in diagnosing offensive plays, and kind of communicating what he saw to the rest of the defense. Here's his numbers through the 13 games. All right, total tackles, 59 tackles, 11 and a half for a loss. He had seven sacks. He had 7 sacks, and he had 4 quarterback hurries. He had 1 pass breakup. Officially, that's official by the University of Alabama's RollTide.com. So basically 60 tackles from the defensive end position. Not double-digit sacks and not really impactful on the turnover game, but played his butt off all year long. And really, without Justin Eboigbe, your defensive line rotation, while still would have been good because of the development for Jaheim Otis and because of the development of Damon Payne as well. He's come along pretty nicely, the kid out of Michigan, and Jamarian Latham as well. But because of the development behind him, it's allowed. I think it's allowed Justin Eboigbe to play more freely in that defensive end role. You've seen Justin Eboigbe play in the defensive end role. You've seen him play in multiple personnel packages. They're using him because of his experience in multiple different ways. I think he is the most underrated player on this Alabama defense this season. Obviously, you can just name star after star after star, and I love Terrion Arnold for what he's been able to do from the cornerback 2 position. You could even argue that he is really cornerback number one. But the defense has been. You think about what they lost from last year. You lost DeMarco Helms. You lost Will Anderson. You lost Henry To'oTo'o. You lost a lot of experience. Byron Young. You lost a lot of experience from last year's defense. And still, you came back this year, and there's no question about it to me. They're much better this year than last year's defense through the 13 games. And I think that's what's going to propel Alabama to winning this Rose Bowl. When you look at the Michigan offense, and you see a very traditional, old school type offense that dabbles into some of the newer concepts, some of the spread concepts, but largely stays in, one back, two tight end sets, a wide receiver, two wide receiver, one on each side, and you're playing with J.J. McCarthy. You're trying to play downhill football. So I posed the question on my Twitter, and you can chime in. There's still, oh, no, it's over. It's over by now. Sorry, just kidding. It ended about 15 minutes ago. Which Michigan skill player is most important to stop in the Rose Bowl? Put running back Blake Corum, wide receiver Roman Wilson, and both tight ends. I put Colston Loveland and A.J. Barner, both tight ends for the Michigan Wolverines. And so you think about what Michigan has done this season. Let's see if I can get their skill position stats up real quick. Michigan, yeah, we're going to do like that, and we're going to do like that. And look at that. Sports Reference, you are a beauty. So Blake Corum obviously has broken 1,000 yards this season. Donovan Edwards, their running back number 2, has 382 yards. But Donovan Edwards gets it done in the passing game as well. 30 receptions for 250 yards. He's kind of got gypped a lot at the goal line by Blake Corum. Blake Corum's 24 touchdowns on the ground. He's a goal line back. He is an eater on the goal line from inside the 5. And so, Blake Corum got the most percentage of the vote, 84% of the vote. He got the most percent. And Colston Loveland got the second most percent. And that's interesting to me because Colston Loveland is their third best receiver. I think that Roman Wilson is their best receiver. Obviously, 41 receptions, 660 yards, and 11 touchdowns for Roman Wilson. He trails Cornelius Johnson by 1 reception, but the big plays that Roman Wilson has made, especially in the red zone, makes him their biggest threat. So it's interesting to me that Colston Loveland got second place from all our voters here on the Twitter/X machine. A.J. Barner only 1%, and Roman Wilson 4%. I think that really, the people are right. Look, I'm going to be fancy and talk about stopping Roman Wilson. I'm going to stopping Colston Loveland and Cornelius Johnson, but really the people are right. It is all about stopping Blake Corum, and I think it comes down to guys like Justin Aboigbe to stop a Blake Corum, like Jaheim Otis. I think you're going to see a lot of Jihad Campbell. I really like what has really happened over the course of the season at the inside linebacker position with Tresman Marshall, Jihad Campbell, and Deontay Lawson, all three rotating in and out, mostly by necessity because of injury. But now that you've gotten towards the latter part of the season, you saw it in the SEC championship game, all three inside backers rotated out throughout the game to keep them fresh. And I think that that's turned into a nice little development for the Crimson Tide. And you're going to see more of that going into the Rose Bowl, because I think your inside backer play is going to be extremely important. Not only filling the gaps. Look, you saw Auburn gapped out Alabama a couple of different times in the running game. And you've seen Alabama kind of get gapped out in some quarterback run situations. You can look at all of our breakdowns on BamaCentral.com if you want to look and see kind of the linebacker play throughout the season. Some of the Ole Miss games, there was some gap issues, but mostly throughout the year, the linebackers have played the run very, very, very well. And it's going to be important for Alabama to play very, very well against the run in the Rose Bowl in 11 days. Blake Corum, they're going to try to come downhill at you. If you let Michigan control the tempo of the game by utilizing their running game, then it's going to be a long day for you. You watch Michigan's games over and over and over again, and yes, we've talked about the disparity in competition for Michigan at length. Purdue's not very good. Indiana's not good. Rutgers not very good. There's a lot of not very good football teams on their schedule. But what they like to do is control the tempo tempo of the game by using the running game, chewing clock, and boom, as soon as we've scored our first touchdown and we've taken 6 minutes off the clock, you're getting the ball back, and it's 9 minutes. It's 9 minutes left in the first quarter. If you go 3 and out, we're taking another 6 minutes off the clock, and we're up 14-0, and it's the end of the first quarter or the start of the second quarter. They're very, very adept at long, methodical drives in which Alabama is going to have to win on first down. You win on first down, and you stop the run. You stop Blake Corum, and then basically it's on Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold, because at that point you've got Kool-Aid on either Cornelius Johnson and or Roman Wilson. You've got Terrion Arnold on the other, and you say 18 or 89. That's AJ Barner and Colston Loveland, the two tight ends. You say, what can you do across the middle with Jihad Campbell / Caleb Downs and you're gonna get a mixture of guys from that standpoint. You're gonna get Malachi Moore. You're gonna get Caleb Downs. You're gonna get Jihad Campbell. You're gonna get Deontay Lawson. You're gonna get a little Jalen Key and Trey Amos as well. But you're gonna get that kind of mixture thrown at those tight ends. And can JJ McCarthy make good decisions? Because I think you're going to get guys when you get into third and long positions, when you're going to get your Justin Eboigbe's, that's when your Dallas Turners, that's when your Chris Braswells are going to be able to eat and really take advantage of this, of down and distance. I think the offensive line for Michigan is very good. I think that it's going to be honestly, I think it's going to be kind of hell in the running game, stopping the run, at least in the early going. You're going to have to kind of hang in there with this defense, at least in the early going. Allow Kevin Steele to kind of watch and see how the blocking schemes are matching up with the fronts and what Alabama needs to do to adjusting the fronts to allow the backers to play the gaps even better. So you're going to have to hang in there maybe through the early part of the game. Alabama's going to have to take some punches in the gut, take some punches in the mouth, and really just kind of have to hang in there on the ropes, I guess, before they start delivering some of their own defensively. But really, the whole deal is winning on first down, winning on second down. You get them in the third and long. I think Alabama wins that scenario all day long. And look, Alabama still sitting at a 2-point underdog. I guess the Vegas Sharks are very confident. The Michigan defense is good. The Michigan defense is really good. They're fast. They get after you on the back end. They play, but it's also hard to compare how good they are because of the challenge that they faced. They didn't face any good receivers and really hardly any good quarterbacks this whole year. Now, is Jalen Milroe a world beater? Is he the best quarterback you ever seen? No, but he's pretty daggum good. And same can be said about all of Alabama's wide receivers. Are they the best Alabama receivers that have ever come through the capstone? No, they're not Julio Jones and Amari Cooper and they're not Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy. No, but they're pretty good. They're not scrubs either. So it's going to be important. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys match up against real skill position guys who will push for NFL rosters. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match up against probably the best team that they played all year long. With the long layoff, we'll see how Jim Harbaugh treated the long layoff. I haven't really paid attention to how he treated it. And so I'm going to be very curious to see what ends up happening in the Rose Bowl, January 1st. You're going to be able to follow it right here at BamaCentral.com with our friends Katie Wyndham, Austin Hanna, and Blake Byler. Those guys are going to be out in Pasadena. They're taking off a little bit after Christmas, and I cannot wait to follow their coverage. You're going to follow them on the X machine. You can just type in those names, Blake Byler, Austin Hanna, and Katie Wyndham, and it'll pop right up on the X machine. So look, we got one more topic. What do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas this year? I'm usually not a big Christmas guy. I'm not always a big Christmas guy, but what do you want for Christmas? First thing I want, what would you rather have? Would you rather have an Alabama football national championship, or would you rather the Alabama basketball team, get the defensive end shaped up, figure it out, and have a Final Four run? Really, this Alabama football team has, you could argue, maximized their potential already by getting to the Final Four. Remember how many people were writing them off after the Texas and USF week, writing them off for dead after those 2 weeks. Like, oh, this is a 4-loss football team. This is a 3-loss football team. This is Nick Saban's worst football team. And there they went, undefeated through the SEC schedule. undefeated through the SEC schedule, beating Georgia in Atlanta. Who's to say? Have they maximized their skill? Have they maximized their talent? Have they maximized their ability? So maybe you say you want to see the basketball team maximize their ability. What do you want for Christmas? I want a couple things for my show. I want another listener or two, another viewer or two. You can subscribe, rate, and review the show on YouTube. You can subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We'd appreciate that. Share it with a friend. We'd love to talk about sponsorships with you. I do have a decent little voice for sponsorship reads, and I can program some commercials in here for you. So if you'd like to take a part in the Joe Gaither Show in 2024 and sponsor the program, we can talk about that. Just follow me at Joe Gaither 6. We'd love to talk about that, talk about our reach, and talk about how we can sponsor your business or your event. We can't wait for that in 2024. We're going to get into that. And I can't wait for what I want in 2024. What I want for Christmas is to catch up with all of the 2025 recruits. I know that I started late in May with the 2024 recruits, and we ended up talking to maybe 9 of them, 9 of the 23 that we ended up getting on the program, 9 or 10. We ended up getting a lot of them. We got Amari Jefferson. I'm thankful for Amari. We got William Sanders, Joseph Ionata, Casey Poe. We got Julian Sayin. So we got a good amount of the recruits on the program. We got Caden Jones. Absolutely, that was a good one. We got Sterling Dixon. That's 7. So we got a handful of the class of 2024. I'd really like to get all of the class of 2025. I apologize. I'm having World War III behind me, but between my dog and my cat with the virtual background, you can't really tell. My man Bruce is meowing out. Bruce, you're going to have to calm it down. We're almost done with the show. So yeah, that's kind of what I want for Christmas is to get in touch with all of the 2025 recruits, get another listener or two, get some guys on here to talk about Michigan here in the next 10 days to make sure that we are ready to watch the Rose Bowl and making sure that we know everything that the Maize and Blue is going to bring to the Rose Bowl, bring to Pasadena. I can't wait to cover it next week with our friends Austin Hannon, Blake Byler, and Katie Wyndham. Look, it's going to be a great Christmas. I'm going to bring you a Christmas show of some sort. It's probably going to be later in the day, but we want to wish you guys all a very Merry Christmas, a happy holidays if Christmas isn't your thing, but Christmas is my thing, so it's a Merry Christmas to you guys, everybody who's out there. It's going to be a great weekend. Enjoy the time with your family. If you are estranged from your family, God, that really stinks, and I pray for you that gets fixed, especially during this holiday season. That's a very difficult thing, but I hope you enjoy some time with your family, enjoy some time with the Lord or with yourselves, kind of and really just get away from the world for a day or so. We're going to be back on Monday, on Christmas, giving you a Monday show on BamaCentral.com, talking all things Rose Bowl, talking all things postseason college football. I think it's going to be me and my cousin. We're just going to have a fun show. Me and my cousin, basically my brother. We talk sports all the time. He's going to give me a lot of heck about Alabama getting into the playoff. Well, I'm probably going to have to defend Alabama's honor with my cousin. That could be a lot of fun. That could make for a very interesting episode on a Christmas day. But I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope you all get to the basketball game tomorrow. The tickets are going to be dirt cheap, 3 p.m. in Coleman Coliseum. Join myself and the rest of the Bama Central crew. We'll be covering the game against Eastern Kentucky. The Tide will roll. So come on, bring your children, bring your family, enjoy some time in Coleman Coliseum. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll be there to cover it on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.